Hello guys, welcome back. This is Genovis with another one of the Pokegirl series. This one is Charmil 005, kind of giving you a top to bottom preview look here. On this one I did something similar with the actual outside lines, so when we get to the colorings I'll bring up that I actually colored the lines before I did the coloring, just trying different coloring techniques on all these. I also went with the blue starting pencil just to get my natural feel, because a lot of times when I did my artwork in person and in real life and not, on paper and pad instead of doing it digitally, I always did the blue pencil sketch to get all my outlines down before I actually went through. That way whenever I photocopied or anything like that, I could just go in and none of that stuff would show up. Those of you who don't know what the non-photo blue is, you can Google it. A lot of places sell it. Kind of had an idea of how I wanted to do the pose in this, so I kind of had some of my starting lines here and was working from there. I was trying to get some contrast. If you look, kind of the shoulders going one way and the hips jutted out the other way. And I knew from the start that I wanted to put, looking at the Charmeleon, I wanted a little extra finger length for the claws. Even the feet, I completely thinking I was just like, well, we're gonna not go human feet at all on this one. We're just gonna try to do more of the dinosaur feel, really. Just getting some of the structure worked out on the face. You'll see me do some adjustments on sizes there because I didn't like how the structure was. And hairstyle, I had no idea going into it. I started making some lines and thinking, well, what would probably look good? Looking at the head there, it jutted back, so I was thinking, well, we'll throw a ponytail on it. Still getting some of the fundamental lines put in. And then I figured I'd have the tail wrap around on this one. That's a good thing. Another good thing about doing it digitally, because if I was doing this, on paper, I would obviously have to redraw the tail every single time that I went through and erase, and the blue doesn't erase very well anyway, not in my history. Now there it skipped some, because there was actually an entire sketch section after that to where I lowered, made a new layer and lowered the opacity on that layer for the blue, and then I did a pencil sketch over it just with the normal HB gray pencil. So what you're looking at now was actually the pencil render off of my original blue sketch. So this is actually the third go over here. And the same thing, made a new layer and went in and lowered the opacity on the layer, and now I'm just going in and putting some of the finished lines in that I'm actually going to be using for the finished work and the coloring work. You see I made a couple of decisions in that sketching. I think I moved the tail around a little bit, adjusted for the hand whirls a little bit. I instead of this just a straight ponytail, I wanted more of the push back and it's just flying out the back sort of deal. Another thing I really love about Procreate, this barely takes up any space to save this kind of thing, because I'm not saving a live video. It's actually saving the brush strokes I'm doing, so the files are relatively small. Still don't know why it cuts out some of it. If anybody knows that, leave me a comment, because it missed the entire sketch portion of this where it's moving from the blue to the pencil sketches, and I have no idea why. Sometimes it misses that, some of my previous videos, and I've got some videos I haven't uploaded yet that, it goes from straight, oh, I got my pencils in, and now it's going to skip straight to, now we got colors on everything, and it kind of just misses that entire step. Still just putting in the lines here. I was going for more of a solid look anyway. I could have had the hair kind of just jutting out, going everywhere back there, but I felt like it was better because, with moving it over to, from Charmeleon over to this, you know, just as a learning perspective. I didn't want to just throw it everywhere because his, you know, his head's pretty tight, and most of the Pokemon have pretty tight lines on that. You're just getting some of the fundamental parts of the anatomy and how I wanted it to look. I think I'm using I think this is actually the technical pencil. Just a normal Procreate standard technical pencil. I think I probably got on one of the highest settings. You can always edit that to make it a bigger one. I know a lot of people use that just to get their sketches down and stuff, but I wanted it a little bit tighter here. It's a little bit longer to draw through it, but you know. And there you see where I actually just moved the hand down, because as I was kind of sitting back and looking at it, and I was like, well, if I don't move that hand down, there's going to be some nipple showing probably on her right breast. So I thought, well, I probably should move that hand down a little bit. So I did. All I did was use a selection tool, select the hand out, choose it, and just move it where I needed it, and it just erased a little bit and finished the lines out so it's in place where I wanted it to be. Still just putting in some of the fundamental lines and putting on some clothes. At least one garment, you know. I was trying to figure out how to do the feet, because they're not normal feet, or obviously the lines could have been turned a little differently, and you'd seen the, you know, the ankles worked in. So I kind of played with it a couple times there, and I was like, I'll come back to it. And I thought maybe when I colored, I can do the actual, just, you know, where's what kind of deal. So yeah, finishing out the tail lines there. Kind of darkened in the hand. It was really light. That's the thing about using some of the, if you use the technical pencil or the HB pencil, sometimes you want to go back in and go over the lines a little bit, make them a little bit, you know, play around with your line weight, and you know, you really want some to stand out more than others, and so on and so forth. The flame, I was going to do it kind of just like I did some of the other stuff, like I did the leaf in one of the last ones, and you know, just do the 3-color. There I actually went in and selected all the lines, and I made a duplicate of them, and you know, turned that layer off, and I changed all the color lines to that darker orange, just so you still see the outline, but it kind of goes with the color I'm using also. And here I'm just coming in and putting the colors in. Now, there's a few different ways you can do the colors. Obviously this is one way. You can put them in yourself, go around this way, or you can use the selection tool. If you use the selection tool, you can just go in, select around, and put them in, and put another layer in, and so on and so forth. Which on some of this I was using the selection tool, and some of it I was just going in and actually just putting in. Oh, that was another skip. It actually skipped where I put the reds in. See, I'm just not sure why it does that. And I'm messing around with turning the lines on and off. For the hair there, I just did some different selection tools. I selected which parts I thought would be highlighted and which parts I didn't know would be highlighted. And I did one lighter layer on the highlights, and I went in and did a darker layer on the highlights. Just using the selection tool and, you know, brushing it in with, you know, the light and darker colors, kind of get that contrast there. And the flame, same thing. Just chose through the selection tool, chose 3 parts. And here's kind of a rundown from the bottom to the top. You kind of see how I did each piece of it. Kind of an old school style shading there, kind of almost like you saw in the some of the old original Pokemon or Dragon Ball Z type color things. Just 3 scales. You have your line work and that. I did a little bit of a cast light there on the coming from the flame. And that'll do it, guys. If you enjoyed it, always like and subscribe. And there is more to come. I think I did about 12 or 13 more that are on the way. All right, thank you.